All right. That is not doing anything. That's not cool. What a silly game this is. Boop, boop. There we go. That's what we needed. Sorry about that. We got there. Hey everybody, it's Chris. I'm back. Had kind of a wild adventure, you know, wild ride over the last couple weeks. A lot of you know I've been just going through a few different things. I got COVID. I'm pretty sure. I can't prove it because the test said I didn't. It says I'm live. As always, I'm gonna test because every once in a while I catch little glitches and mistakes. So looks like everything's working perfect. Okay, cool. So we've got a lot to talk about today, and we don't have a ton of time. I've got to make sure I'm on for the pre-order because I gotta pick up a couple of things here. So we're gonna recap today on. We're gonna touch on the GT briefly. I'm not gonna go over it too crazy for a lot of reasons, and I'll explain them when we get there. We're gonna talk about my league game and a couple other things with the league. I'm currently 3-1 there, and then just touch on a little bit like the upcoming data slate stuff like that. I can't speculate on it a ton. It does violate my NDA, like it is against my GW employee policy. So it's one of those where I've got to be a little careful about what I say and how I say it and stuff like that. So let's dig into the GT first. Like I said, we're gonna spend a ton of time on it. First of all, the guys that ran it did an excellent job. So anything I say is not indicative of my feelings towards them. Here for Heresy is the organization that ran it, and the terrain was good. The judge was amazing. Like he was very attentive and responsive and very knowledgeable. And if he didn't know a rule, he wasn't afraid to say, "I don't know. I want to look it up first." And so his name's Caleb. Big shout out to Caleb. He did a great job. You know, I'm not going to mention a lot of names for a lot of reasons because I don't know how big my platform actually is, and I don't want my experience with somebody to skew your experience with that person because they may have just been having a bad day. So if I have a bad experience with a player, I try to just chalk it up to they just had a bad day, unless I have more than one bad experience with a player. All right, then it's like okay, I understand. This is where we're at. But if I've played you and it's the first time I've played you and I just didn't have a good experience, for the most part, I'll chalk it up to a bad day. And so I try to kind of keep that in mind when I talk about my experiences is again, if you're fairly local and you hear this and you're like, well, Chris said this guy's an asshole. Well, he was an asshole to me, but maybe he just didn't like my face. You might get to the table and he might be a great dude. And that does happen. Sometimes personalities don't mesh. I'm pretty goofy, especially at the table, and I bounce around a lot and I don't sit still. And I'm constantly go, 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 go. And I tend to play kind of fast. Not that I'm loose and like not attentive, but I tend to just kind of go through. I do talk through what I'm doing as I do it, but I tend to just be very go, go, go. And it's because, when you play as much as I've played, you just understand what you're doing and you can kind of do it. So I did hit round one GSC, and I went into this. So I went into this fully expecting to lose every game, and on paper, I did lose every game. And we'll kind of touch on that in a minute. Round one, I hit GSC, and I. And if you're on Twitch, we've got a ad coming in about a minute. Round one, I did hit GSC, and I took fixed. I decided I was just going to play fixed objectives the whole GT, 5 straight games, just so I could kind of play around with it and see where I was going with it and see what I could do with it. And overall, it wasn't bad. I totally agree with everybody that 9 times out of 10, tactical is just going to be better because your scoring potential is higher. if you don't get your max secondaries in one round, you can make them up in subsequent rounds because of how some of the secondaries score. And I think that's something that really needs to get fixed or changed with fixed secondaries, especially because you can't generate any bonus command points with fixed. So I feel like maybe some of the points need to just get tweaked a little bit just to make it a more viable option. It shouldn't be an automatic, but neither should tactical, in my opinion. I feel like you should be able to viably build your list around either. And, right now I just don't see that for most armies. I see most armies either doing one thing or the other because of like lack of mobility, stuff like that. And again, that's just my experience so far, but I haven't done a ton of 10th events, and that's another reason I had expected to lose every game. Is I've done the competitive league, I did an RTT with my sisters, and then I did this GT. So like the number of events that I've done for 40K in 10th edition is way lower than the volume I was doing in ninth. And a lot of it's just because I've been trying to hold off until the data slate before doing them because I'm not super thrilled with the state of the game. And, honestly, that negativity kind of overtook me a little bit, and I was just like poo pooing playing competitive 40K. And I'm glad I got out to the GT because I really was able to get some good games in with some people, and it was a lot of fun. And I really missed doing the events. And it was never about the game for me, it was about playing and meeting new people, the social aspect. Like being good at the game is helpful, and I enjoy it, but it was always the social side of it for me. So be prepared for some digressions. Before we jump into that, I did go. Sorry, just reading a message from Daniel Bodecker. He's one of my patrons. Big shout out to him. Such a nice dude, and actually the newest member of our Warhammer team. Read your message about the VA. I'm glad you found things that are strong to work for you. Sorry about it, me. Yeah, you better, buddy. And we'll touch on some sisters stuff here pretty soon because I did play some sisters yesterday, and I played almost all infantry list, and it was hilarious. That being said, so round one I hit GSE, and while I was playing with GSE, I did deploy teleport homers, and I think I took assassinate. And I want to say I capped assassinate, and I got like 16 points on homers. It does help me. It does. But I try to give warnings. You just got in just after the warning is all. It's only got about 15 seconds left. So, and I capped assassinate, and really I think I got like 16 points on homers, and then what was it like? Was it 20 and 16 is 36? So I got 50 on primaries, something like that. Because my final score was 86. Whatever it is to come out to 86, capping assassinate, right? And the problem wasn't that I couldn't score. The problem is that I couldn't stop him from scoring. And that's been my interaction when I've run the fixed secondaries, is that for the most part, I can get my points. I just don't know that I can keep you from getting your points and I think it's because of what I've been taking and the way the game interacts right now. So because he got a 100-point game, and he was really surprised. Like he did not expect me to play as well as I did. Super nice dude. I enjoy playing with him a lot. He and I have played a few games now at events. And then round two, I hit Imperial Knights because he hit a mirror match round one. So Imperial Knights played Imperial Knights. So round two, I got stuck with Imperial Knights. And honestly, like that came down to one big mistake that I made. When I killed one of the big knights, I killed the wrong one. I killed Canis, and I should have killed the Crusader because that Crusader was just picking up so much of my army between shooting and Overwatch, and I just couldn't hide. So it was just like everything I did was just like, pick up 300 points of your army. Now in Overwatch, pick up another 100 to 150 points of your army, and it was just like, okay. And again, I took fixed. I took bring it down, and I took whatever deploy teleport homers, and I think I got like 65 points. He didn't cap. I think he was somewhere around 85. It was like a 20-point game. It wasn't terrible. My primary struggled because of the fact that, just like I said, I just couldn't stay on the table. Um, so, and I was so then we hit round three. I played Tau, and that was a weird game. Kid's nice enough. I've played him before. We had kind of a bad interaction the first time I played because he was like low key trying to accuse me of cheating, and then he found out that I just knew my orc army really, really well. And so it was one of those, like, he was big enough later to come back and just be like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. You know, I apologize." So that was cool. And that's why I always try to give people a second chance. Cuz man, like, sometimes it's just you're having a bad day or whatever, right? So that game, there were some scoring issues between him and me, and it wasn't like a disagreement or an argument. Like, we both left some points on the board that we forgot to jot down. And he was like, after the game, he was just like, "Hey man, I got my score wrong. Is it okay if we change it?" Because I had won the game and he had lost, and then I was just like, "Sure." Like, it's not that important to me. I'm already 0-2. I wasn't going into this expecting to win a ton. It's not a big deal, right? Like, he left some points on the table. I left some points on the table. I wasn't going to argue with him. He's super nice guy. Again, I'm not taking anything away from him. And it just was like, I'm not going to argue. It's not a big deal. So I just flipped the win to him. And I forgot to score one of his objectives anyway. So it was just one of those, like, I also forgot to score my empowered. Like, I had objectives empowered the whole game because of my Archon or Lilith being on them, and I just forgot to score them. So like I said, it's one of those, like, it was my mistake. I'm not going to argue with him. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me who won. All that matters is, like, I understand where I actually scored. And, we both walked away having a good time. Because even though I like playing in tournaments and I like competitive play, I also like to make sure that you and I are both having fun. So round four, played T Suns, and at that point, like I said, like in reality, I'm what, on paper I'm 0-3. Again, like round three is whatever. I don't care. But I'm talking to this kid, and he's had just as rough. He's had a really rough go. Like, he's playing T Suns, and he smacked T Suns mirror match. Then he smacked Imperial Knights. Then he smacked, like, something else. I don't know. Like, the poor kid just had a really rough go of it. Craft World, he hit Eldar because one of our Eldar players hit a mirror match, I think it was, and lost, or he hit like Imperial. Like, a lot of the really strong armies ended up playing each other round one, which was funny. But the downside to that was, like, that meant round two and round three, some of the people who probably shouldn't be playing into those strong armies were playing into those strong armies because of the way the pairings went. So he just had a rough go of it. And at the end of the game, it was like, all right, man, uh, here's the score. Like, I beat him by 3 points, but I intentionally flipped our scores when I submitted. And I was like, you win. Go have fun. Like, get your win. Again, like, I wanted to see if I could score fixed secondaries. That's all I went into this doing. And I did. And I did the same ones. I did teleport homers. And I forget what the other one is I took for that one. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And then round four or round five, I hit a Tau player, and again, like, just took fixed secondaries. And at the end of the game, I flipped the scores because it was like, he's just here hanging out with his son-in-law, having a good time. He's lost every game. Like, let him go home and tell his kid, like brag that he got a win. Like, whatever, man. So at the end of the day, it was just like, I don't care. And there were people that were just like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't win a single game," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's all right." Like, at the end of the day, I don't care. Like, it was fun. I had fun. I know what games I won. I know what games I lost. I don't care what the rest of the world sees. I had a good time. I learned a lot about things with my army, like playing Drukari. I got to really see how they can interact with fixed secondaries a lot more, not just in practice games, but in an actual tournament setting. And it is viable. Like I said, I think everybody's right, and I've never argued with it. I just think, right now tactical just provides so much more flexibility because you can generate a command point, because your scoring potential is so much higher. If you get bring it down, you get more points for bring it down. And because you're like flipping and they accumulate, right? Like if you kill 3 vehicles in a single turn for bring it down in tactical, that's a lot of points considering how everything pans out, right? So it's just one of those where it's not the end of the world. I just wanted to see the difference in the interaction. It does tell me that I do think fixed secondaries need a slight tweak, or maybe like one or two more options. But all in all, it was a good time. Like I said, the Heresy guys, they did a great job. It wasn't really a GT. It was a GT in name alone, and that's just because their community is slowly rebuilding. Um, so it was like 22 people. And so it was like a really big RTT, like right in that bubble, you know. And that's again at no fault of theirs, because the next time they throw a GT, they're gonna get their numbers because it was such a well-run event. Everything was good, so they're gonna get their numbers. So that covers the GT. Played my league game. Got to play against Nids. I ended up winning. I won by paint. But then when I look back on it, I actually, again, left some points out that I should have scored. And that's, again, just because I haven't been playing as much as I should. So it's one of those where the game doesn't change. The outcome doesn't change. It's just I don't win by paint, you know. And I ran fixed into him again. But I think round 5 we're going to do tactical, and I'll do a preview this week on round 5 coming up. I get Marines, yay! But there's no Desolators, so that's cool. But round 4, it was Bugs. He had a Swarm Lord, he had a Hive Tyrant, he had the Neuro Tyrant. Everything had a flamer. A big part of his game plan was just like, I'm just going to Overwatch and just get like 4 shooting phases with all my flamers, which was fine. I just generally avoided those things then because they're only 18 inches, and like he put the Swarm Lord right in the middle of the board, and he just ate literally every Dark Lance I had, and it was just like, all right, man, I know he's got a 4-up invuln, but how many do you think you can make? Um, and really, there were 2 big turning points where it was like the game could have gone either way. Round 3, he hit me with his whatever his synapse ability is, where everything makes a battle shock, and I failed literally every battle shock test but one. And the only thing that saved me was Kabalites having sticky objectives, so I still controlled them even though I had no OC on them. So it was just like, oh, okay. But it did knock my cleanse down. That's what the other one was I took. I took cleanse because we played on the ritual, and I was like, well, I can drop an objective, I can cleanse in the middle of the board because I sent 2 units to the middle, got 1 cleanse, got 1 teleport homers, and then dropped another objective, did double cleanse. Like it worked very well. The way I played it worked very well. But having that thing just like automatically battle shock me across the board and I failed all of them was just like, sure, man. It did knock my cleanse points down. Like, oh well. And then the other pivotal point was in turn 4 because I peeled about 1,000 points of his army in turn 4. And his turn 5, he had between turn 4 and turn 5, I peeled because he still had so much on the board. And then turn 4 and turn 5 hit, and he lost literally everything but his Hive Tyrant and his Tyrannifex. And I just was able to box him in and cage him in and tie him up so that he couldn't score any of his secondaries because he did tactical. And it was just like, we went through every possible scenario, and there was just nothing he could do to get it, you know. Because in order to get it, because he drew Assassinate, he drew whatever the other one was he drew. I think it's the one where you got to control two objectives in no man's land. So he drew that. He drew assassinate, and like he had to, in order to make up all the points, he had to control two objectives and do assassinate and do that, and he just couldn't. Like he could get three of those boxes checked, but couldn't get all four. Super nice kid. Had a lot of fun playing with him. He actually played his army really well. I didn't really see because he had asked me to give him some feedback, and I didn't really see anything that he could have done a ton differently. I think he played fairly well. I think the only real big mistake is just camping that Swarm Lord in the middle. But if you don't know like how Dark Lances and Heat Lances interact, there's nothing you can do. Like you're just like, oh, okay, that's a lot of dice. I will say the Archon did kill a Neuro Tyrant. Yeah. Just through lucky dice. It was so funny. Like I charged him with some Cabalites, and I was just trying to chip wounds with the Archon, and it was just like and then the Archon ended up killing him with his. It wasn't in melee actually; it was in engagement range, and I got him with the blast pistol. But no, super nice kid. Had a lot of fun playing with him. Nids are in a weird spot. I'm just glad he didn't have spore mines. I would have probably just hung myself. Like, not that they're oppressive. It's just one of those where, all right, yep, you're gonna shoot your two spore mines. They're gonna land in my deployment zone. You're gonna get teleport homers, and you're gonna get behind enemy lines, and that's what we're doing. Like, sure, man. Like it's not broken. It's just like it's very reminiscent of like ninth edition Necrons and ninth edition Sisters late in the edition, where the big meta play was to just literally sit in your deployment zone and burn miracle dice and get points. So it was just like, cool, man. Like, I'm glad we're playing a game. But yeah, it's one of those where I don't think they need like abused like the spore mines. They probably just need something where they're never eligible to shoot. So if you want to take behind enemy lines, you can, but then they're not also doubling up on teleport homers, something along those lines. Because I'm not opposed to them using them for objectives. It's just you should not be able to just continuously spam them into my deployment zone for free points, right? But like I said, he didn't have them. But yeah, he played a well, super close game. And then round five, like I said, I got a guy who's playing Marines. It's Iron Hands. Like I said, we'll do a preview on that this week. It's gonna be pretty fun game. I've played him before. The last time I played him was late ninth. We did a tournament, and like he was like, "Oh crap, I got to play Chris." And then he was like asking all my buddies like, "What should I do?" And their advice was literally just like, "Don't let any of his army touch you. Like just stay out of melee." But the downside to that was like he was not prepared for how much ground advance and charge covered in ninth edition for Drukari. So like I had Drazar and some Incubi just scream up the board by round two. And like Drazar went through a Redemptor, and it was just silly. Like the poor kid. And I baited him into some bad moves. I left my Ravager out to intentionally pull him out to try to shoot it, and he did, and I think it died. Like I think it died, but then like a lot of his army was just out where I could tag it. So it was just like I'll sacrifice that Ravager if I can pull most of your hard hitting units out, and then I can just tag them all because like that shuts off so much of your shooting. So that's League, and that's the GT. I've got an RTT coming up in October, and then there's Tampa in October. So, and that's why I wasn't super worried, like I said, about this GT. I've got Tampa, and I'm just trying to make sure I get a bunch of stuff in, like test this, test that. And I'm going to start looking at my Tampa list here pretty soon and what I'm going to do. It's largely dependent on what I'm going to have access to because I don't have as much like racks and that side of the army as I'd like. And obviously, the data slate will influence it as well. So, we've talked about that. Let's talk about something else real quick. Again, apologies. I've been kind of MIA again for a bit. As Dan mentioned, I was in the VA. I've got diagnosed with ADHD like unofficially, and I was trying to get it done through the VA. I went into the VA, And when you haven't been in to see your counselor in over 12 months, then they have to give you another psych eval. And that's just to make sure you're not at risk. And I'm sitting there talking to the guy and I'm telling him everything. And, you know, we do complain, like as veterans, we do complain about the VA quite a bit. But I will say the Crown Point VA has a very good mental health department. I'm not exceptionally fond of like the actual physical medical side of it, but their mental health department has always been, in my experience, very good. And that guy immediately got me in with a psychiatrist like that day. He was like, "All right, you're going to go in with the psychiatrist." And I spoke to the psychiatrist, and within 20 minutes of our conversation, he was just like, "Yes, you have ADHD." So again, it was one of those where it's severe enough that I've had two psychiatrists diagnose me within 20 minutes of conversation. And not even just talking about why I think I have it, just through conversation and talking. And they're just like, "Yeah, all right, guy, you got it." So they did put me on a low dose prescription for Adderall, and I can tell you it is night and day. I don't lose my keys. I don't lose my wallet. I don't lose literally everything I own. When I paint, I can paint for more than 5 minutes before I want to tear my eyeballs out. You know, when I clock in for my part time work, I can do that and do it for more than 5 minutes before I want to tear my eyeballs out. It's one of those where like it doesn't elevate my heart rate. I don't get all ramped up. I don't get crazy focused. I don't like laser in on something. I just get to function like a normal human, and it's been really nice. You know, it's been amazing. I'm trying to think like just the amount of things I do still lose my mind. You're right. Well, it's funny you say that. Like I just am less angry because I'm not constantly seeking that dopamine hit subconsciously. So like overall, I'm just less angry because my brain isn't dealing with that massive dopamine deficiency that it goes through when you have ADHD. So So it's a really neat interaction. Like I said, I've done a lot of research. There's an ad coming up in 8 minutes here on Twitch. There's a lot of neat, I've done a lot of research. There's a lot of neat things I've learned about it. It's a interesting. I don't know if you call it a disease, illness, mental health issue, whatever you want to call it, right? Like I don't care. Neurodivergence, if you're one of the new cool kids, but so it's one of those where, yeah, yeah, I guess you could say I found it. I found my mind. So it's been really helpful. I have enjoyed the way I've been able to function over the last like 4 days because of it, which has helped me like get back on track, like get back to writing, get back to making videos, doing the things that I need to do, scheduling my time, scheduling my day. So this coming week is going to be pretty cool, just being able to like parse all that out and get it going and get it all figured out. So thanks for listening to me talk about my ADHD real quick, just kind of keeping everybody updated. Oh, also, I got COVID. I think I mentioned that. Like, that was another big reason why I was kind of MIA for the last week. Is one of my kids came home with the Rona from school, and it was not fun. And I've had it a lot of times. Like, I'm like the Rona champ at this point. But this was one of the so I think it's like 4 or 5 times, and only twice has it been bad. And this was one of the two bad times. Because both times it's been bad has been when I've gotten it like with or from Eli. That's funny, actually. It's not related, but it's funny. Because I ended up having to take him into the hospital. He ended up being fine. And then I just like slept for 3 straight days. Okay, so we talked about that. Before we dig into some of these previews, I wanted to talk about some of the sister stuff I had seen that's funny. I don't know if it's good, but it's funny. It's actually, do I have it pulled up? I do. Let's pull you over here. So I took my sisters out for a bit yesterday because I wanted to get a little break. I've been grinding so many games with the Drukari that I just needed a change. And the big change, right, was just evidently I still wanted to play T3 bodies because I'm a masochist and I like picking up whole squads to Overwatch. Why is she so big? So the Palatine is really funny. While she's leading a unit, weapons equipped by models in her unit have the lethal hits ability. Well, that's interesting, Tyler. And man, that really lets me know that 9th or 10th edition's just going to be like 9th unless the datasheet's got to rework. Because not every unit needed a points drop. And then each time her unit is selected to fight, you can discard a miracle die, and then if you do until the end of the phase, each time a melee attack made by... Oh, it's only this model. So I did play that wrong, but it's still funny. It's only her that gets it, but she did most of the work anyway. But she just does a mortal in addition to her normal damage, which is really funny. I don't know, buddy. How do you know? And I put her in with some novitiates because they're cheap. I think it's a cheap unit. And I just like sent them into some guardsmen. I killed a bunch of guardsmen. Like I said, it's not good. It's funny, but it's not good. It could be good with certain things. Uh, I'm just curious. Auspex tactic apparent points got leaked. Oh, all right. Well, post the link in the chat, dude. Speaking of links, if you're watching this and you like buying hobby stuff, there's links in the description if you're on Twitch and links in the description if you're on YouTube. And those links are to an Amazon affiliate product, and you can buy those products and they don't cost you any extra money, and I just get a small commission. So there's my little blurb, my little ad blurb. So I don't want to dig too deep into these previews. I just want to see, I don't care about that, if there's any data sheets. Oh boy, a Terminator Chaplain. Wow. Thanks, Tyler. There's a post in the Twitch chat. Let's see. I will throw it in the YouTube chat too. Boop. Boop. All right, there's a post in the YouTube chat. Oh, God. Why? Also, right now. And that's to the Auspex Tactics video that has the leaks. Gosh, he's got a storm shield. He's so Terminaty. A captain in Terminator armor. I don't mean to be so snarky. Yes, I do. But I'm really just looking to see if there's any data sheets. I want to know. I need to know. I haven't looked at these yet at all. Look, Primaris Scouts. That's crazy. I don't know if they're Primaris, but they're bigger. New Scout models. The old what? Scouts? You're crazy. The new Scouts look better. Unless you're talking about the old Terminator Captain. I'm so glad. Oh, that's fair. I'm so glad that Space Marines have like 6 units that fill the scout role. Like, come on, guys. Jump pack assault intercessors. Now, every Space Marine player can be happy and stop complaining that they don't have them. I wish I had Primaris jump pack troops. Yeah, dude, you're not wrong. We love you, Space Marine players, though. We really do. On the Warhammer Studio, boop. Somebody had shown me some data sheets. It might not have been for the Marines. And that's all I'm trying to look for. I want Gravis jump pack Terminator assault troops, guys. Tyler, where'd you get that data sheet you were showing me? I've seen data sheets. I just assumed they came from here. What a handsome devil. I hate what I'm looking at right now. That is disgusting, and I hope it dies. I just need to refresh. Boop. So he moves 8. He's T5. Can everybody see that? We can zoom it in. Don't tell me how to live my life. T5, 4 up save, 4 up invulnerable save, 7. Why so many wounds? Piercing claws. You get 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, neg 2, 1 damage. Uh, core, he's got infiltrators, lone operative, stealth, shadow in the warp, synapse. Tyler, what is the difference between shadow in the warp and synapse? Because he has both faction keywords, and I don't know the difference. I'm not a bug player. Each time this model destroys an enemy character model, you get a CP. In your command phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches. Oh, this is the dude that does the battle shock stuff. You can subtract one from the hit roll, and then when you attack it, you get to add one to the hit roll. No, like, I get what you're saying about why you're not a fan. Like, relying on battle shock to have your abilities work is not the best feeling. You know, like Incubi make you take a battle shock test, and it's like when most of the game just does battle shock on like 6, maybe 7. It's just like, all right. So I get it. The 1 damage isn't bad though. He's got 6 attacks and they're precision. Like if he had 2 damage with 6 attacks, that might be a little excessive. Like he should probably not just squad wipe assault intercessors, for example. What does this do? 1 CP. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, up to 2 Vanguard Invader units from your army. While the enemy is within 6 inches of this. What is this? I hate it. I was just checking on that, sorry. Oh, okay. I don't know what that model is, but it's disgusting. Oh gosh. So, neat. Neat. An avalanche of iron jaws. So yeah, that covers pretty much everything I wanted to today. There's not that much. There is not much else for me to talk about. This week we're gonna talk about what are we gonna talk about this week? Well, obviously we're gonna do the preview, the league round preview. Oh, for those of you that are interested, I'll post some pictures and stuff later. But I am repainting my Drukhari. The sale is not done, obviously, but we're going white and green, and I really like the new scheme. It really pops. I enjoy it. I like to pop it like it's hot. It's not how the song goes, just so everybody knows. When do pairings go up for round 5? I will post those tomorrow. I might post them today. I need to go through today or tomorrow. Tomorrow at the latest. I need to go through BCP today, but I have a couple other things that I need to make sure I get taken care of first. And the mission and the terrain are already posted for round 5. I just already know who I'm playing because I know where I am in the rankings and I know how it is going to pan out. Not the game. I don't know how the game's going to pan out. I just mean I know how the rankings are going to shake out. And I'm giving one of the guys a chance to at least communicate because this will be the 3rd straight round. He just kind of like no-showed. And if he doesn't communicate today, then I'm giving his opponent a W rather than the tie because, hey, man, like you signed up for it. You're getting a loss if you don't even bother contacting people. And I get it. Like we've had a couple drops because a couple people, life happened or whatever. But at the same time, the people that have dropped and have been vocal about dropping aren't necessarily upset that they're gonna get losses. Like they understand. So, do you have 2 losses, Dan? I think you do, because of the not being able to play this week. Because you should have been playing Krishna, I think, which is the guy that I think I'm gonna end up playing. So, that covers it. When I get a minute, like I will send you the list I ran yesterday. Oh, gotcha. Actually, I'll just talk about it for a minute real quick. It was 20 Repentia, 10 Novitiates, the Palatine, 20 Battle Sisters, the Canoness, my favorite Canoness. Like, I never run her with anything but the stupid Blessed Blade because it makes me so happy. And then she just needs to be able to go into different squads. I ran a 5-mana Sacrosanct with, what's her name? Junith, just to kind of get some different stuff on the table. Like it was an extremely melee centric list, and it was funny. Um, I did run 2 5-mans of Retributors. I put them in Immolators, and actually, like that was very good. I have no complaints about that. Um, both of my both the Immolators were able to kill Lehman Russes. Uh, he didn't have many models left at the end of the game. I played Kyle. He didn't have many models left at the end of the game, but the problem was that the models he had left were just like he had a Bane Blade and a Valkyrie. I'm wondering if the data slate is going to see a lot of points drops for different armies across the board and this codex. And I don't know before I say anything else. Yes, I'm a GW employee. No, I have no clue. Do not think I'm giving you insider information because I'm telling you 100% right now. I'm not, and it's only speculation. And like this, me talking about it could still get my video flagged. But I'm wondering if we're going to see points drops for a lot of armies, and the NIDS Codex is just kind of like setting the tone for what's coming in the data slate. Because if it's not, and NIDS just in a vacuum, if NIDS just get a points drop and everything else, like everything else basically stays the same, cool, man. Like like I said, September is going to make or break competitive play for me. If the data slate comes out and it's ass, and then we get 1 or 2 codexes, and they're just like the new hotness that is rolling everything, I'm just done with competitive play. It's why I don't play Magic. And if this game just turns into Magic with models, I'm just going to be done with tournaments. Like, I'll play with buddies, we'll have fun, but I will just be done with tournaments because it was exhausting in ninth edition to deal with that bullshit. I don't want to have to deal with it again. So, and I'm not trying to be negative. I'm actually in a pretty good headspace right now when it comes to 40K. Like, being able to, yes, I lost my games against GSC. I lost against Knights. You know, I've lost against Eldar, but I've hung in there with them. So being able to hang in with some of these top tier armies, T Suns are pretty high up there, and so it's one of those like being able to hang in there with these top tier armies. Like I don't feel bad about it. There's some interactions that I absolutely despise, and I'd like to see get changed. I'd like Overwatch to just go the fuck away. Sorry, but it probably won't. At least I figured there would be, Tyler. I had been hearing so many people tell me they're not changing data sheets, and I was like, they have to. There's a too many bad data sheets. Like there's just too many that are bad. Okay, and that justifies a 10-point drop in my head. If he doesn't damage reduce, like okay. And see, that's where we're at. Okay. And that's perfect. And that's why I said, like, I'm not trying to be negative about 40K. And that's what I mean is like they have to legitimately change data sheets. Like when if and when the witches data sheet comes out in the codex, like it cannot be the way it is now. And really like the data slate needs to alter their data sheet, but I don't know that they do that. They'll probably just drop them in points, and then I just get to run horde witches, which I'm not opposed to. I like witches a lot. They just are so inherently shitty right now. So, but that's gonna wrap it up. I've got a few other things I need to take care of before I make sure I get into this online queue so I can do some pre-ordering. Actually, nope. Hold on a second. You're fine. Shit boggled me when I heard we got it. No, and yeah, like if that's like a very clickbaity way, and not that you were trying to, don't misunderstand me. So, um, but like if I were trying to get clicks, right, or if I were trying to get views, that's exactly how I would word it. Nids, army-wide points drops, absurd, right? Like get that, elicit that emotional response. Unfortunately, that's not how I'm wired, and that's not how I'm built. So like I'm just gonna be like changes to NIDS, like if I were gonna do a video to cover it. So, but again, like I said, we're gonna wrap it up because I've got some stuff to take care of. Real good to get back online, real good to be in a good headspace, and just everything is going really well. And I appreciate everybody coming, hanging out, talking, chatting, viewing. And I know this was kind of like there wasn't a lot to this video other than just kind of brief overviews of everything. But like I said, the GT I didn't want to dig into too deep because it was what it was. Like it was one of those where once we started rolling, I was just okay. And then the league game, um, there's not much to say. It's one of those where I'm seeing areas where I need to improve, and I'm making sure I improve them. So outside of that, you guys have fun. Again, you want to support me, there's Amazon affiliate links in Twitch, there's Amazon affiliate links in YouTube. Click those, buy the product, give me some money, get you cool products. It all works out really well. Thanks a lot. Okay, maybe.